So I invite you to find a comfortable position. Relax your hands and your feet. Give your shoulders permission to drop. Give your heart permission to be hopeful. Give your mind permission to rest. Take a deep breath and be at ease. Inside us all is a tiny spark of light. Find it. Find yours. Imagine where it rests. Imagine it if it's a thing that you carry in your pocket or carry in your heart, or it sits on your shoulder or wrapped around your wrist like a watch, or even tucked in your sock. Acknowledge it. Understand why it's there. Understand that there is no line that separates you from it. That it is the part of you that calls to you, that whispers to you, like a divine little Jiminy Cricket, whispering what's right and wrong for you, what excites you, encourages you, draws you closer toward the greater light it represents. Imagine it speaking just to your heart now, soothing it, reminding it of its job in the world, to beat fiercely with love, to be courageous, to remind you that earth is not a kindergarten. It is a master class. A broad and challenging classroom that is not meant to be easy. Let the light sustain you for this class, this graduate status that we work toward. Let the light, this small spark of divinity, remind you of who you are in the scheme of all that is. Let it whisper to you that you are strong like a girl, and all that carries with it. Because we all have both inside us. Not just both, but all. And that everything this classroom requires of us, we have not only the fortitude, but the wisdom and strength to expand from it. That we are a piece of all that is. Take one final breath and return. So as we gather today in this sanctuary of shared values, we stand at the intersection of memory and hope. The past of the things that we remember as we remember them, and this wonderful little remarkable concept of hope that differs from optimism in that it's about something that we don't know how it could possibly occur, but we still want it, we still believe in it, we still think is possible. We find ourselves on the first day of Women's History Month, a time dedicated to unearthing the buried narratives of half of humanity. We find our spiritual compass pointing directly toward the second principle of Unitarian Universalism: justice, equity, and compassion in our human relations. To celebrate women's history is not to merely list names in a textbook. It is a spiritual practice of restoration. It is the act of looking at a fractured world and insisting on wholeness. Our second principle calls us to move beyond mere kindness into the rigorous work of justice. When we take the time to look at the historic accomplishments of women, we see the living embodiment of this principle. Not as a static ideal, but as a hard-won reality. And it's important for us to remember just how far we have come, and that not all cultures and countries and communities move at the same speed toward justice, and that there are some farther than we are. We must acknowledge, as much as we love to shout our own accomplishments, we're not at the pinnacle of that achievement scale. So to remember that there are places who are doing it even better than we are is to remember that there are greater pockets of light in the world than we enjoy too, and that we can send our love to those pockets. There's this concept in Islam called mashallah, where it's meant to to interrupt the cycles of envy. But it can do a lot more. When somebody says, "Oh, my son just graduated with honors," you say, "Mashallah." And what you're doing is, according to Sufism, which is the mystical component of Islam, it's that you are sharing your joy with the angels so that the angels hear it and send that joy to you as well. But it's a fascinating concept when it comes to our own envy. Because envy, if there is something we're transmitting out there, envy interrupts that. So when you get in the way of that, and you can send your congratulations and joy to those who have it better, are doing better, you are transmitting, this is the vibration I wish to experience too. It's important. Anytime you noticing yourself being envious of something, jealous of something, even if you can't remember this word, mashallah, remember what it means. Remember, I'm so happy for them. Because we need more of whatever it is that other countries are doing better than us. Justice is the backbone of our faith. It is the demand, not the request, but the demand that every person be treated with the dignity that they are inherently owed. We see this in the life of Ida B. Wells, who used the power of the written word beginning in 1892 to expose the horrors of lynching. Her pursuit of justice was not comfortable. It was a fire. She understood that justice in human relations requires the courage to name the truth, even when the world prefers the comfort of a lie. In our tradition, we are called to that same prophetic fire. We celebrate the women who refused to accept a version of justice that only applied to some, reminding us that our second principle is a call to universal liberation. And then equity. While equality suggests giving everyone the same thing, equity recognizes that we do not all start from the same place. Equity is a handicap in golf, or a stepladder to someone who is vertically challenged. or even hair dye to someone who just does not want their age to show. Equity is the practical application of compassion. Consider the legacy of Doris Huerta, who in 1962 co-founded the United Farm Workers. She looked at the systemic barriers facing laborers, poverty, lack of health care, dangerous working conditions. She organized for equity. She understood that human relations cannot be healthy if the scales are tipped toward exploitation. Equity means looking at our own circles and asking, who is missing from this table? Whose voice is being muffled by the weight of systemic disadvantage? We are among the first generations to even hold this question in common conversation. Because when most of us were kids, that was not even a thing you asked. And how amazing is that? How amazing is it that we comfortably sit with this question that makes us very uncomfortable, because the answer coming back at us is not what we would want. But the question always precedes the action, the word, the thought. The third stated goal of the second principle is compassion. Compassion is often dismissed these days as a soft virtue, one that some claim does not meet the needs of the time we live in. But in the hands of the historic women we honor, it is a tool of revolution. Compassion is the ability to feel with another so deeply that you are moved to action. We see this in the work of Dorothy Day, who in the 1930s lived in radical solidarity with the poor. Her compassion was not a fleeting sentiment. It was a disciplined commitment to the interdependent web of our existence long before it was codified in our seventh principle. She showed us that compassion in human relations means refusing to look away from suffering. We are a living tradition, which means that our faith is not a relic of the past, but a breathing, evolving commitment. When we study women's history, we see the ancestors of our own values. We see Margaret Fuller, a foundational Unitarian figure who demanded intellectual and spiritual equity for women in the 19th century. We see the countless unnamed women who organized the first social justice committees in our early congregations, long before that term even existed. The accomplishment of historic women is the physical manifestation of our principles, the second especially. Their lives prove that justice is possible, that equity is necessary, and that compassion is the only fuel that can sustain the journey. But we must acknowledge also that history is often written to sanitize the struggle, written by men most frequently. The women we celebrate today, from Sojourner Truth to Malala Yousafzai, did not wait for permission to exercise their inherent worth. They took our second principle in their own way and lived it at great personal cost. They remind us that justice, equity, and compassion are not just words to be printed on a banner. They are verbs. Verbs, words of action. What does it mean to have compassion for the people in Iran right now? Complicated an issue though that may be. People are suffering there. People who didn't cause the conflict and the complexities that we see. Children who were just born there. This month, as we reflect on the giants upon whose shoulders we stand, may we ask ourselves, how are we carrying their torch? Are we practicing a justice that is intersectional? Are we building equity that is sustainable? Are we offering a compassion that is transformative, not only for the world we want to see, but for the wounds we feel ourselves? May we leave this space not just with admiration for the women of the past, but with renewed commitment to the women of today and of the future. Let us be the ancestors that the next generations will thank for finally making justice, equity, and compassion the foundation of all human relations. Because even though we are afraid of what the future is bringing us, there is a long track record we can refer to. A track record over literally thousands of years that has inched its way closer and closer and closer to the moment we have now. There are enough data points along the trail of history to see where it is going, and to see which vast powers on this earth have been powerless to stop. We look at legislation that tells people in Kansas, you are not a woman, and you can't even drive today. What kind of crap is that? But their legislation will not hold. They will not unidentify the trans women of Kansas. They will create a speed bump in the road of progress, not a wall. And the lawsuits and the protests matter. That's justice. That is a pathway toward equity. That is a set of hearts moved by compassion and informed by the divine spark tucked in their sock. That is our birthright, our heritage of the future, and we are the ancestors that are making that world possible. Please rise as you are able.